Hello everyone. I hope that you've had a wonderful trading week as, you know, our bias has panned out. Again, shouldn't be a surprise to you, right? So as you guys can see on the chart, we have what I would like to call a partial sequential SMT, right? Right here, you can see that we took out a low, that we took out a low that was formed within the previous quarter, right? In regards to the monthly cycle, right? But we did not take out both of them, right? In the Dow, we traded below the lowest close, right? But we did not take out this low. So when you see, things like this happen, right? We took out a low, but not the lowest low, but we did trade below the lowest close. That in itself is sequential SMT. But, right, it must be confirmed by a lower time frame sequential SMT, which is where the price action within this, wick down, took place. So here you can see that we traded and just traded within this wick, formed a failure swing, which is what we expected for the S&P 500. If you remember what we were talking about, when we talked about the S&P 500, this is what we expected. We did not expect the S&P 500 to run below this low at all, right? But due to the fact that we had a failure swing here, we had the Nasdaq take this low out, right, and not trade below this close, but we had the Dow trade below this lowest close of price right here, right? Price traded back up, and we had sequential SMT within the 90-minute cycle right here, which is what propelled price higher, right? So we did have sequential SMT because that was sequential SMT, right? Just, something that's new. So this usually happens within low probability conditions, low probability weeks, right? Which is, the week that we currently have, which I did touch upon, I believe, in the past Sunday's live stream, right? Why is this week low probability, than the others? Low probability does not mean that, you can't trade. It just means that price will not be as clear as it could be, right? It's due to the fact that we have contract expiry this week, this Friday, right? So this Friday, we will be switching contracts, right? So the March contract will expire, right? And whenever that happens, which is this Friday, we will switch to the new contract, which will be June, right? June's contract. So currently, there is not a lot of volume in the market, right? Some people are already trading the other contract, right? But we're old school, so we'll stick to this one until it expires, and after this expires, we'll switch, right? Currently, we have the S&P 500 very close to this, as you guys can see, and I'll turn on the crosshair so you guys can see, right? Because someone wanted to see this. So we have the S&P 500 extremely close, right, to the highest high of the previous week. The Nasdaq right? We have price not, as close. The highest high that formed in the Dow, right, in the previous week, we already have price trading above that high. So currently, we do have sequential SMT, right? But remember, we need a lower time frame cycle sequential SMT to confirm that, we're going to see lower prices. And due to the fact that we have high impact news tomorrow, right? We have high impact news tomorrow, which is Thursday. And remember, take this as a grain of salt because we're in a very low probability week, right? So the only reason, why you should even be thinking about doing anything is if exactly what I talk about now pans out, right? So this is today's high, which is Wednesday, right? This is Wednesday's high. Look at the ES, that's Wednesday's high. Look at the Nasdaq, that's Wednesday's high. And look at the Dow, you can see Dow's high is this high right here, right? So you'll have times when the high of the days in different asset classes will form at different times, right? So if we have price trade above here, right? And I don't want to be seen as being ambiguous or, two-sided. I'm never two-sided, right? I'm either right or I'm wrong, right? I'm either right or I'm wrong. I'm never ambiguous, right? So if we see price, trade above Wednesday's high tomorrow, which is Thursday, and we have sequential SMT, that would confirm that we are going to be going lower, right? As you guys can see, we're in very close proximity to Wednesday's high in ES's price action, but in Nasdaq's price action, we are, a few points away, over 100 points away from Wednesday's high, right? So if anything happens, we could see Nasdaq being weaker among all of these, right? If price runs above here, and it even takes out this high, right? I wouldn't expect Nasdaq to take this high out before we trend lower or pull back lower within this range, right? Whenever you're functioning within a specific quarter of time, right, you want to relate to the previous high of the previous cycle and the previous low, right? So currently, these swing points, right, this swing point right here would be of importance, and this swing low right here would be of importance, right? So what would that tell you? That we're in premium. This is liquidity, right? There are big firms that have their buy stops above this high. So if price pushes above here, and there is a lower time frame sequential SMT, we would expect price to fall back within this range, right? Looking at price action as a whole right now, you can see that we're literally within a consolidating marketplace. Consolidation follows, consolidation is usually what comes before sequential SMT, right? And what comes after sequential SMT is either expansion or reversal, depending on the type of sequential SMT that you have, right? So if we see sequential SMT here, what could we expect? We could, again, expect the Magneto effect, right? Which happened right here. Sequential SMT right? After a opposing sequential SMT will send price to the previous sequential SMT, right? And this is what happens during consolidated markets, right? You have sequential SMT here, it sends it higher, sequential SMT again, sends it lower, sequential SMT again, sends it higher, and that's what usually happens. All right? Hopefully you understand that. So currently right now, there's not a lot to do but waiting. And you've heard me say this before, not a lot of times, right? But I've said this before. There are times when we just have to wait for more information. But there are times when the market is as clear as day. The market isn't clear right now, right? So we had price do what we expected price to do, right? Which, there was turtle soup. And turtle soup, does not have to occur when price trades below a low, right? It just has to trade below the lowest open, which it didn't happen here. It didn't happen here, but it did happen here in the Dow. And after it traded below the low, this low right here, and the open, what happened? There was partial sequential SMT. Price traded higher, retraced, right? This low to this high, lower, retraced lower than 50%. There was a 90-minute cycle sequential SMT right here, which propelled price higher. The Magneto effect. You understand? So currently, right, equal lows here, right, relatively equal highs here, right? We need to see either this high, well, more than likely this high breached, right? We need to see this high breached. This one stay intact. And, a lower time frames, changing the state of delivery, and then we can approach price action accordingly. Right? So currently, I believe that the Forex market looks a bit clearer for the first time in a very long time. Right? Looking at, this price action, you remember that we expected price to fall within a daily fair value gap that was right here, which did happen. Right? And we have this high right here, the Great British Pound high, right here, the highest high of the previous quarter, right? And we're referring to the monthly cycle right now. The previous quarter, right, of the monthly cycle in regards to the Euro USD is highest high is this high, right? You can see that this high is closer in proximity to this high than this high is to this high, right? Also, you can see that this gap that's right here, right? I'll show you guys in the weekly. So this gap, the weekly gap right here, is closer in proximity than this gap right here as well. These are telltale signs of reversal. If I know telltale signs of reversal, right? So if we have this, right, we have price action run above this high during this week, right? So if we have price action run above this high during this week and this high holds, which means that there's a failure swing here, then we will look for lower prices, right? Due to the fact that that would cause sequential SMT, which is what we base most of our trades around. Right. Here, you can see that we had a failure swing right here, which was not, this was not SMT. Right, so this was a failure swing. This was a failure swing as well. right? And correct this. So if we see price, form sequential SMT here, that would trigger a magneto effect. Again, it should send price to this low, right? So everything that we're basing our trades upon is the base is sequential SMT. That's the base, right? That's the base. And the reason why I repeat this so much is to get you guys to understand the importance of it. The monthly cycle, right, is what you will be, determining most of your bias upon. So if you're trading during the first and second week and we do not yet have a monthly sequential SMT, what will you do? You will trade as if you do not have a bias and you will just be functioning, within the daily cycle and the weekly cycle, right? You will just be trading what you have right now, but you will not be looking at the macro view of things, because when you get to the monthly cycle, you will be within low probability conditions. But when you're trading within the weekly time frame, if you see a sequential SMT between Wednesday and Thursday, that's high probability conditions. The weekly time frame, the monthly time frame usually frames most of the movement that we see on a month-to-month basis. You understand? So currently, as you guys can see, we had price, right, take this high out, but this one is still in place, right? That's not sequential, right? If price takes this one out, which usually happens, right? Whenever there is sequential SMT, there is usually a swing low prior to the failure swing that, does not get taken out. So usually you would see price take this one out, right? And take this one out, but fails to get this one. That's what usually happens during sequential SMT. Which is why usually, you can enter with price trades above a high like this and put your stop here on the basis that price already traded above this high. Same thing goes for here, right? But as you guys can see, this is not, the clean price action that you would like to see. This is not clean at all. This is just consolidating at the moment. And I already told you guys why it is. And that's due to the fact that we are within, the contract expiry week. Bitcoin. So we've seen Bitcoin expanding higher for a it's had an amazing run, to be honest, right? You can't take that from it, right? It has had an amazing run. And for Bitcoin to reverse, you need to see sequential SMT between the yearly cycle. And we are currently not seeing sequential SMT between the yearly cycles, right? We are not. At the moment, we are not. So the first sign would, be consolidation, which we have no consolidation right now for Bitcoin. So we could see Bitcoin pushing higher. We have no consolidation for Bitcoin at the moment. There's no consolidation. right? And for reversal to occur, there must be sequential SMT, right? So we're going higher and going higher. If by any, if we see price, pull back, if we see price pull back, that still will not mean that Bitcoin is bearish. We would have to see price pull back, then create sequential SMT with that high during the yearly cycle. Do you understand? So confirmation of Bitcoin's price going lower, it will not, happen within this quarter. Is it high probability to be buying here? No. Would I buy here? No. I would not. Will there be better prices to buy? Of course there will be. There will be, of course. Same thing goes for Ethereum, right? Bitcoin and Ethereum, works hand in hand. So far, you can see that we have SMT between this high and this high. This high and this high at the moment. I will be back with you guys around, I believe, Saturday, right? After the contracts expire. There's not a lot to talk about at the moment, right? And I have this issue that I'm actually working on, right? The leakers. Those guys are like my enemies right now. I want to talk, but I have to be giving you guys the information, condensed. So each live stream, will contain information pertaining to the previous live stream. Right? And we will begin speaking about the doubling theory next month. Not this month. Right? Next month we'll be speaking about doubling theory. So the current live stream right now, right, which is today's Wednesday, right? This is, not your typical live stream due to the fact that we have contract expiry Friday. Right? We have contracts expiry Friday. Contracts are going to expire. There is more than likely going to be a shift in sentiment because the markets have been going up forever, and markets do not do this. So if you guys have not, been actually going through the videos, making notes, you need to be doing so, because we're going to be touching upon doubling theory, which is a parent of the Oculus theory. Oh, why did I talk about that one? The Oracle theory. Yeah, you guys don't know about Oculus yet. Oh my god. I'm actually I'm crazy, man. I should cut that part out. So the Oracle theory, which is the parent of the doubling theory, right? We'll be talking about the Oracle theory, around month 6. But next month we'll be discussing the doubling theory, which should improve your accuracy. We can be using it real time, and I heard that there are people that are taking my Sunday live streams and, taking the information that I give them, and they're like applying that information in their own like chats and charging people for analysis, which is crazy, right? Absolutely insane. Which is why, I don't give straight out signals. Because if I do that, there will be people that will just be, taking it like by ES at 5100, stop loss 5090, TP 5172. They'll just be taking, copy and pasting, and they'll be making money, which is terrifying to me. I don't want that happening. So instead, I come and I tell you what to expect and how to confirm what I expect. And with your time within the charts, you will, understand how to approach the data. But yeah. Pretty much that's it. So you guys learned, a new, thing today, which was the turtle soup that occurs when price trades below the lowest open, and there is partial sequential SMT, which happens when, right, there is SMT below the second to lowest low, right? So it would be this low right here, if you're looking on the mouse, right here. So trade below this low would face trade below this one while trading below the lowest close, while price is not trading below the lowest close in other asset classes. And we'll touch upon this more. There are so many things that we need to touch upon, during the course of this year. Not even sure if we're going to touch everything upon, the course of this year. Right? But I'll be trying to do so as we, get into clearer market conditions, because the way I teach is not, I don't like teaching with hindsight data or just, showing you guys a chart of what happened before. I want you guys to like experiencing what I'm talking about happening right now. And the reason why we are having, a dry conversation right now is due to the fact that we're within dry market conditions. Right? If you guys remember like last month, last week, the week before, when we were having all these movements right here, it was more, lively due to the fact that we had, good price action. And with that being said, hopefully you guys have a, wonderful week. And we're doing our best, right, to get rid of the leakers. We've found like 4 already, and we've kicked out four. So there's like more, which is insane, right? That's actually insane because we've got rid of 4. And there's more that's probably watching right now, which is crazy. Man, it's insane, man. But anyways, yeah, I hope that you guys have a wonderful week. And we'll be back Saturday, right? So we'll be back this Saturday, and then Sunday again, right? So we will speak about what happened on Friday during Sunday's live stream. And Sunday's live stream would be a live stream where I will be, answering questions that you guys have been asking in the question chat. Have a nice day, my friends.